Next question I got for you, and this is for, of course, where you are at currently right now, since you're outside of the U.S., which again, yes, the first international interview, y'all. Again,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, how is the hip hop scene out in Australia?
It's getting really big, and it's really kind of taken off in the last like 4 or 5 years, I would say. Um, I would say there's nearly like a rapper artist in every suburb, which probably wasn't such a thing before.
Mm,
And there's even more popping up now because the younger generation are coming up. So there's this. It's the scene is getting bigger, but the scene is also quite split with different sounds.
hmm.
If
Okay.
you know what I mean, like different subgenres within hip hop, whether it's trap or like some boom bap or some drill music. You know what I mean? That's kind of big here as well with drill music.
Okay. Okay.
But it's big and everyone's connected, through phones these days. So everyone's connecting, doing things. Um, and it's becoming acceptable as well to rap because it was like kind of like, oh, you rap, you know what I mean, out here. And
Yeah.
people will think you're the shit just because you're trying to rap. But now it's becoming socially acceptable to rap. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And also, it's changed a lot because I think when there were certain artists back in the days that kept their Australian accent while
Yeah.
rapping. And then there was artists that were kind of like just completely biting the American accent. And I think what's happening now is that everyone's kind of adapting to their own sound, an Australian sound, instead
Mm.
of just trying to put themselves on with this American accent. You know what I mean? So I think in the next couple of years, and I always kind of thought that in 2024 would be like the golden era for hip hop in Australia, where a
Mm.
lot of that have built their foundation in the last couple of years will kind of really come to fruition in the next couple of years. So 2024, I feel like a lot of like albums and projects are going to come out that are just going to be classics from a lot of artists in Australia.
As well as from Two in the Temple, y'all.
That's for sure.
Dang. Well, that's dope, man. I'm glad. I'm glad I asked that question. And
Mhm.
again, you must be on point with knowing some of the other questions I have after that too, of being able to tell me again the style that's, really live out there. And you just went down and just kept going with it. So again, like I said, you was like, you are you sure you didn't see these questions beforehand?
No,
You know? But
no.
that's really dope. And I'm glad too that now it's being, again, like you said, it's more socially acceptable of like folks to be rapping and things of that sort, because it's almost, yeah, it's like going out of the norm to do something where folks is just like, yeah, nah, I don't think you should even be doing anything like that, to now is like, okay, now you can see that there's actually much more depth into the art itself and what you can
Mm-hmm.
do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
And to be honest, bro, I think a lot of like the younger generation these days are just like, fuck it, the world is kind of crazy right now. Let's just
yeah.
rap.
Mm,
Do you know? I think a lot of like hip hop comes from that kind of mentality. Like the world's fucked up, my environment's fucked up. I need to express myself somewhere or another. So I think that's happening a lot these days here as well.
mm. And I'm glad you brought that up, because guess what? That's the root and the essence of where hip hop started from and originated from,
Mm,
was talking
exactly.
about those social and societal issues, the struggles, and trying to overcome. I mean, shouts out to Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. Literally,
Mm,
broken
mm,
glass everywhere, man. These are the breaks, like from
yeah.
Curtis Blow, literally Coke Rock. Shouts out to Coke Rock, is the first MC ever in hip hop. If y'all don't know, look up Coke Rock. That's the first MC ever. If you want to talk about rhyming and rapping, Coke Rock.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, because yeah, again, that's where hip hop originated from, that struggle and finding
Mm,
a voice through that struggle to speak your piece.
right. 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 And everyone's got like their different intentions with hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether you're trying to make the mainstream route, whether you're just trying to express what's going on in your life and you need an outlet. Um, or whether you're just doing it for the girls. There's so many different reasons why people do hip hop, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, do you, and eventually through your journey, the truth will come and appear on why you're
Yeah.
actually doing.
Yes. It
Mm,
definitely will. And
mm.
for all of that to appear and to happen, you got to be able to find and figure out what your process is. So, with that, the next question I got for you, brother, is what does your creative process look like?
Um, I feel like it's always different. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm working on my own, it usually starts with a beat, trying to find a beat that I'm vibing with at the moment that kind of fits what's going on, whether I'm amped or whether I'm down or whether I'm like just want to put out a message of, a storytelling message, whatever it might be. So it
Yeah.
usually starts with the beat. And then from the beat, I like to like improvise a lot.
Mm.
Um, whether that's improvising, the hook,
Yeah.
finding the hook always helps first, you know what I mean? So trying to find that something that you can ground yourself in within the track. So I
Yes.
always, that if not, I just go through my phone. Sometimes I just write a lot of notes down in my phone and find lines in my phone and just go with that and just let it flow. And then, shit just happens magically. And then just like, wow, like that works. You know what I mean? It comes out of
Mm.
nowhere. And I've, through this process, I've come to kind of let go in my um, experience with making songs and just letting go and
Mm.
just letting,
Mm.
and, but if I'm working with other people, and
Yeah.
I'm starting to do that like much more these days, is sitting down with producers, and they'll make a beat on the spot, and maybe I have someone next to me writing,
Mm.
and go off each other and bounce off each other.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's always different depending on the environment and the situation and what you're going
Mm.
through.
Okay. No, I like again how you describe both of those different ones, and one of the key things that you dropped in there that goes over people's heads, especially artists and creators, is learning how to let go in that process. And what I
Mm,
mean by let go is being able to not force things and let them come naturally as they come, and not to worry that, oh, maybe this bar is not heavy enough for how it should hit, or this word didn't fit so well, so I'm just going to erase the whole sentence and just start back over again. Because I will say this now, I've always had a challenge. I always had a challenge of always writing my first bar. It was always a challenge. It was like, where do I even go? Where do I want to start? But I know once I
mm,
started, I knew where the rest was going. Now it's gotten to a point where in my own process that literally whatever comes to mind. So the first bar that I ever write now for a lot of my songs is a freestyle bar, and I just
mm,
go from there. And what that has done is it has, for me, it took off that block. So there's no such thing, at least in my realm, of writer's block in any shape or form, because of the fact that I mean, I freestyle stuff, as well as I noticed, even though if I use that first sentence, it creates itself. And
mm,
again, you're the second person, if not the third person on here that's talked about this process being magical
mm, mm-hmm.
as you're going through it.
Yeah, and you start to trust that, that voice that gives you that first line. And
Yeah.
sometimes you don't trust it, and you're like, man, that's shit, that's whack. But the more you start to trust it, the better the line becomes because you're more open to it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and that's
So
what I found, especially in the last like 2 years. Like, I've really kind of developed that ability to tap into that, and where I'm kind of really satisfied with that first line. And it takes work, man. It takes like studying and understanding yourself and the music to really kind of know what you put down in a line. And
yes.
yeah, so
Yes. Gems are being dropped, y'all. Make sure y'all picking them up right now, okay? If not, there's gonna be two at your temple. I'm just playing.
yeah, definitely
Um, I told y'all I'm gonna be doing it. Again,
keep it
it's
going.
up for interpretation. But uh with that, brother, because I still wanna get on that piece of still the creative process, and I want you to give me an example again, because again, I like story. You like give you're great at storytelling. I love great stories. So
Mm.
can you tell me a time where you were in your creative process, whether if that's in the studio, whether if that's in your room or outside in nature, where that song or a track or a verse just wrote itself, and you had that, you had a great experience or whatever that feeling was. So what was the time that your creative process made you have a real strong emotion?
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna just take a song from the project, which is 100 Spliffs Deep. Have you heard that song yet?
Mm. 100
I don't.
splits deep? No, you
Yeah.
didn't, bro. Bro, all your stuff is hidden right now. I have not gotten to hear anything. The only track that you sent me, and we're gonna play it in a little bit, is another 24, which I didn't want to spoil myself and listen to it yet. So you're gonna get the live reaction of me listening to it as we do all together.
All right. Because you're always on me about the short tracks. So this and is my longest track that I've ever wrote. 3 verses, hooks, even like a little outro, at the end. And
Yes.
this is a storytelling track, and I think you really love this track. It's called 100 Spliffs Deep.
Mm.
Um, I came up with the hook first, and it just kind of came to me like, I just found that pocket that fit, and it was 100 spliffs deep, and it's kind of quite repetitive. And then you could think of 100 spliffs deep as like, you smoke 100 spliffs in a night too quick, and you're like high as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I was kind of like taking it, 100 spliffs deep was 100 spliffs deep smoking with someone else. So say if I was to smoke 100 spliffs
Mm-hmm.
with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much more we would get to know each other through that 100 spliffs,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So
Yes.
if you go like, I'm not actually, I'm not even sure if you smoke, bro, but I've smoked 100, I've 100 spliffs with people, and those people that I have, I know, pretty well, because just from
Mm.
I have over smoking. Um, so with that song, it was a storytelling song about smoking 100 spliffs with a girl that I first met from the first spliff to the 100 spliff, and me kind of describing that timeline of like from the first spliff to the to the second spliff
Mm-hmm.
to the 50th spliff, and how that changes and how much more you get to know about that person to the 100th spliff, and how much it would have changed from the first to the last. Sorry, from the first to the 100th. So
Wow.
there's so that 100 spliffs deep track is in there, and it's like a full storytelling about the first to the 100th.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I'm like, that's probably like, one of my favorite tracks, and that came pretty effortlessly because it was like it was from real experience, you know what I mean? So I was able to just tap into memories
Yes.
and and,
Oh
and I wrote
wow.
that all in one go really as well. And it's funny because I showed this track to for show and tell in the cypher, right? And I don't know
Yeah,
if
so
you
I
were there.
wasn't there. I wasn't there.
You weren't there. And Jermaine and Des and all that, they were like, I showed them the first draft, and they're like, oh no, you need to go back and put it into a story, like into a story format, because it was kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
There wasn't much structure. I went back, wrote 3 verses, came back, showed them. They're like, yeah, like that's it. So
Dang, I
yeah,
missed both times then. Dang, man.
yeah.
Ah.
Well, you still get to hear it all mixed, sound good. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to that. See, just creating more hype. And again, y'all, if y'all don't know, again, this is the brother Jordan Z. Wilson, aka Two at the Temple, and we're here not only to talk about his life and everything else that's going on, but he has a project coming out. If I'm correct, it's coming out what, March 30th, right?
yeah. March 30th. That's it.
So March 30th, that's a Wednesday.